I still remember the exact second the sound disappeared. One moment the TV was playing softly in the background, the next moment the screen went black, and so did my place in that house. She didn't shout, she didn't argue, she didn't even look angry. She simply grabbed the remote, pressed the power button, and said 5 words that sliced deeper than any scream ever could. "Get out. This is my house." I sat there frozen. My hands were resting on my knees. My heart was beating so loudly I was sure she could hear it. I opened my mouth, then closed it again. Not because I had nothing to say, but because I had said too much for too many years already. I was 62 years old, a widow, and in that moment I realized I had become a guest in the home I once built with my own hands. This wasn't always how it was. Once this house echoed with laughter, late-night tea, and a man who promised me I would never be alone. My husband had worked himself sick to buy this place. When he passed away, I thought the walls would protect me. Instead, they watched me being erased. She, my daughter-in-law, stood near the doorway, arms crossed, eyes cold. No hesitation, no guilt, just ownership. "You've stayed long enough," she added, like she was talking about expired food in the fridge. I wanted to remind her who raised the man she married. I wanted to remind her whose savings paid for that couch she was standing next to. I wanted to remind her that this house had my memories soaked into every corner. But I didn't. I stayed quiet, because quiet had become my survival skill. I slowly stood up, my knees aching, my pride aching more. I picked up my shawl from the chair. She didn't move to help. She didn't say another word. As I reached the door, I paused. Not to beg, not to cry, but because a part of me still hoped she would say, "Wait, I didn't mean it." She didn't. The door closed behind me with a soft click, and just like that, I was homeless inside my own life. That night, I stayed at a cheap motel near the highway, the kind where the lights buzz and the walls feel thinner than paper. I sat on the bed, staring at my phone. I had one contact I hadn't called in years, a man my husband once trusted more than anyone, a man who knew everything. But I didn't call, not yet, because I believed something foolish. I believed silence would protect me. I was wrong. The next morning, while I was sipping burnt coffee from a paper cup, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered, and what the man on the other end said made my hands start shaking. "Ma'am, I think you should come back home. There's someone here asking for you." My voice came out as a whisper. "Who?" There was a pause. Then he said the words that would change everything. I arrived back at the house just after noon. My hands were trembling as I stood across the street, staring at the front door, my front door, the same one that had been shut on me less than 24 hours earlier. A black sedan was parked in the driveway. That alone told me something was different. My daughter-in-law never allowed unknown people near the house. She was obsessed with control, over the furniture, the bills, the food, and eventually over me. I took a deep breath and crossed the street. Before I could knock, the door opened, and there she was. Her face had lost all its color. You're back?" she said, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. I thought, "I got a call," I replied quietly. She stepped aside, stiff and uncomfortable. "There's someone inside asking strange questions." The living room looked the same, but it felt different. The TV was off, the curtains were open, and sitting calmly on the sofa was a man in a gray suit, holding a leather folder on his lap. He stood up the moment he saw me. "Mrs. Rahman?" he asked gently. I nodded. He extended his hand. "My name is Mr. Halim. I worked with your late husband for over 15 years. The room went silent. My daughter-in-law's head snapped toward him. Worked with? She repeated. My husband never mentioned you. Mr. Halim smiled politely. That doesn't surprise me. I sat down slowly, my heart pounding. Mr. Halim opened his folder and placed several documents on the table, neatly, carefully, like he had done this many times before. Yesterday morning, he continued, I was informed that you were forced out of this property. Her voice sharpened instantly. No one forced her. This house belongs to my husband. Mr. Halim looked at her, not angrily, not rudely, just knowingly. That, he said calmly, is exactly what we need to clarify. He slid one paper toward me. I recognized my husband's handwriting immediately. My breath caught in my throat. This, Mr. Halim explained, is the original property agreement. Your husband placed the house under your name, not his son's. What? She blurted out. I stared at the paper, my vision blurring. My name was there, clear as day. She stood up. That's impossible. My husband handles everything. Mr. Halim nodded. Your husband handles what he is allowed to handle. Her confidence cracked. You see, he continued, your father-in-law was a careful man. He loved his son, but he trusted his wife more. He knew that time changes people. I remembered that night. My husband, sitting at the dining table, saying softly, Promise me, no matter what happens, never give this house away. I promised, and then I forgot that promise until now. My daughter-in-law's voice dropped. Even if that's true, she lives under our roof. She has no income, no support. Mr. Halim closed the folder slowly. Actually, he said, she has more support than you think. He looked at me. Your husband left behind an investment account, a rental property, and a legal instruction stating that if you were ever mistreated in this home, he paused, ownership rights would be reevaluated immediately. The room felt like it had no air. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. For the first time in years, she was quiet, and I finally understood something painful but powerful. My silence had protected them, not me. Mr. Halim stood and turned to her. You told her to leave yesterday, he said calmly. Today, we need to discuss whether you still have the right to stay. She looked at me, not with anger, not with hatred, but with fear. And for the first time since my husband passed away, the front door opened with a sharp click. My son walked in. His eyes moved from me to Mr. Halim, then finally to his wife. What's going on? He asked, confusion written all over his face. She rushed toward him instantly. Your mother is creating drama again. She brought a lawyer to threaten us. I stayed seated. For once, I didn't rush to defend myself. For once, I let the truth speak before my emotions. Mr. Halim stood up. Sir, I'm not here to threaten anyone. I'm here to explain facts. My son frowned. Facts about what? About this house, Mr. Halim replied, and about what happened yesterday. My son turned to me. Ummi, you didn't tell me you left? I looked straight at her. You didn't ask. Silence. That silence held years of swallowed pain. Mr. Halim placed another document on the table. This house is legally under your mother's name. My son laughed nervously. That can't be right. I pay the bills. Mr. Halim nodded. Paying bills doesn't equal ownership. Her voice cut in sharply. He's lying. You promised me this house would be ours. That was when my son turned toward her, startled. Promised? She froze. I felt something shift inside my chest. Mr. Halim spoke softly but firmly. Your father never transferred ownership. In fact, he documented concerns about how his wife might be treated after his death. My son swallowed hard. Why wouldn't he tell me? I finally spoke. Because he saw what you didn't, I said quietly. My son looked at me. What are you talking about? I took a deep breath. You stopped seeing me as your mother, I continued, and started seeing me as an inconvenience. His eyes dropped. His wife stepped back. You're poisoning him against me. But the damage was done. Mr. Halim turned another page. There's more. Her head snapped up. More what? A post-nuptial agreement, signed after marriage. It clearly states that this property is excluded from marital assets. My son stared at his wife. You told me we owned this together. She looked away, and in that moment I saw it clearly. She hadn't just pushed me out, she had been planning to push him too, once she had everything secured. My son's voice shook. Is this true? She snapped. I did it for us. For us? He repeated. I stood up slowly, my voice steady but heavy. You turned off the TV and told me to get out, I said, looking at her. You didn't realize that was the moment you turned everything off. Her face crumpled. Mr. Halim cleared his throat. Given the events of yesterday, we have grounds to activate the protection clause. My son looked panicked. What does that mean? It means, Mr. Halim said calmly, your mother regains full control of the house immediately. I didn't smile. I didn't celebrate. I just felt free. But the biggest shock was still coming. Because what Mr. Halim said next made my son sit down like the ground disappeared beneath his feet. There's also an ongoing investigation regarding unauthorized withdrawals from the investment account. Her eyes widened. What withdrawals? My son asked. She whispered, I can explain. But the truth no longer needed explanations. The room felt smaller, not because the walls moved, but because the truth had nowhere left to hide. My son sat down slowly, his head in his hands. Unauthorized withdrawals? He repeated, his voice barely audible. Mr. Halim nodded. Several, over the past 8 months. Funds were transferred from your mother's investment account into a private account. My son looked up. Whose account? No one answered, because no answer was needed. His wife backed toward the wall. I was going to return it, she said quickly. I just needed time. For what? My son asked. For what reason? Her voice cracked. For security, for our future. I stepped forward. You already had a future, I said softly. You just wanted it without me in it. She looked at me, tears streaming now. You never liked me. I shook my head. I didn't need to like you. I needed you to respect me. Silence again. The kind that burns. My son stood up and faced me. His eyes were red. Ami, why didn't you tell me any of this before? I took his hands, the same hands I once held when he was learning to walk. Because I didn't want to break your home, I said. I didn't realize it was already broken. His shoulders shook. I failed you, he whispered. I shook my head. You forgot me. That's different. Mr. Halim cleared his throat. Legally, Mrs. Rahman has every right to ask you to vacate the property. Her head snapped up. You can't be serious. I looked at her. The woman who once turned off the TV on me. The woman who told me to get out. I won't do to you what you did to me, I said calmly. But this house is no longer a battlefield. I turned to my son. You can stay, both of you, for now. Her relief was immediate. But, I continued, under my rules and with respect. Mr. Halim nodded approvingly. That will be documented. She looked at me like she was seeing me for the first time, not as an old woman, not as a burden, but as someone with authority. That night, I slept in my own room again. The TV was still there, but it stayed off because I didn't need noise anymore.